Welcome along. If you're here to boost your English skills using the world of football, you're in the right place.
Definitely. And today, we've got a big one to get stuck into.
We certainly do. We're going deep on a huge Champions League match. The second leg, semi-final, Arsenal versus Paris Saint-Germain.
Yeah, we'll be breaking down the key moments, pulling out the insights, and of course, picking up some useful English football vocabulary along the way. That's the plan.
Exactly. So let's set the scene. Arsenal were in Paris, already trailing 1-0 from that first leg back in London. A tough ass.
A real uphill battle. But they came out flying, didn't they?
They really did. Put PSG under serious pressure right from the start. Seemed really determined.
Absolutely. You could see the intent. They weren't sitting back. They wanted that early goal to level the tie.
And that meant PSG's keeper, Donnarumma, he was busy straight away, yeah. Made some big saves.
Oh, massive saves. Denied Martinelli, then Ødegaard. Really crucial moments, those. Kept PSG's noses in front when Arsenal were properly threatening.
Wow. So those weren't just routine stops then?
No. Far from it. You could argue they changed the feel of the game early on. If one of those goes in, well, it's a total different match, isn't it? Allowed PSG to kind of settle after that initial Arsenal onslaught.
Right. But it wasn't all one-way traffic, was it? PSG had their moments too.
They did. Kvaratskhelia, he rattled the post. A warning sign for Arsenal, definitely. Couldn't switch off.
And then, just before the half-hour mark, I think, boom. Goal for PSG, Fabian Ruiz.
Yeah, and it felt like it came slightly against their run of play at that point, Arsenal were looking quite comfortable.
How did the goal come about?
It was actually really good technique from Ruiz. Controlled it on his chest, then volleyed it. Got a bit of a nick off Saliba on the way in, I think.
A slight deflection. Always helps.
It does, but still a good strike. And interestingly, his first ever Champions League goal. So big moment for him and a real blow for Arsenal just then.
Yeah, it must have really knocked the wind out of their sails. So after halftime, Arsenal still needed goals. Saka had a chance.
He did, yeah. Got a shot off, but Donnarumma, again, was there, made the save. The keeper was having one of those nights.
He sounds like he was immense. Then came the VAR moment. The handball.
Ah, yes, the penalty incident.
Mm-hmm.
Lewis Skelly, the Arsenal player. VAR gets involved, referees goes to screen. Penalty given for handball.
Harsh. Fair. What was the feeling?
Looked pretty harsh, to be honest. Hit his arm, yes, but unintentional, awkward position. One of those that divides opinion, definitely. A talking point.
And then the penalty itself.
Well, Vitinha stepped up for PSG, and Raya saved it. Quite a weak penalty, actually.
So a let-off for Arsenal. Maybe a bit of justice after the decision.
Perhaps, yeah. A reprieve. But it didn't really change the momentum for long.
No, because PSG got their second goal not too long after that, didn't they? Hakimi?
That's right. Arsenal couldn't clear the ball properly in their box. Partey involved, I think.
Oh, dear. A defensive mix-up.
Sort of failed to clear his lines, yeah. And Hakimi was sharp. Pounce on it. Lovely finish. Really composed.
Sounds like a poacher's goal almost.
It was the finish of an attacker, definitely. He had a great game overall, Hakimi. Ended up getting man of the match, deservedly so.
Okay, so 2-0 to PSG on the night. 3-0 on aggregate. Looked pretty much over. But Arsenal kept fighting.
To their credit, yeah, they didn't just fold. Saka managed to grab one back. Trossard put in a cross. Saka finished it. About, 15 minutes left?
Gave them a sniff, maybe?
A glimmer of hope, a tiny one. And then just minutes later, Saka had another massive chance. Glorious opportunity to make it 2-2 on the night.
What happened?
Fired it over the bar. Agonizingly close.
Oh, wow. That must have been the moment.
It really felt like it. If that goes in, who knows? Proper grandstand finish on the cards.
Yeah.
But wasn't to be.
So the chance went begging, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah, PSG saw it out from there. Final whistle goes. Big celebrations from the home side. They're through to the final. Arsenal are out.
Right. Let's recap the key players then. You mentioned Donnarumma multiple times.
Absolutely central figure. Even Arteta, the Arsenal manager, said he was basically the difference over the two legs. Those early saves set the tone. And he just looked unbeatable at times. Imperious, you might say. Imperious. Good word. Useful for your English, that one. So Donnarumma, the standout. Who else caught the eye?
Well, Fabian Ruiz, obviously, getting that crucial first goal, that really shifted the game's balance.
Against the run of play, as you said.
Exactly. And Hakimi, not just for the goal, but his all-round performance, energy, the finish, top class.
And for Arsenal, Saka scored, but missed the big chance.
Yeah, mixed night for him, wasn't it? Scored a good goal, showed his threat, but that miss, that'll sting.
It's interesting. Both keepers had key moments. Raya saved the penalty.
He did, kept them in it momentarily, but then again, some pointed to the pass he played out to Rice just before PSG's first goal. Put him under pressure, perhaps.
Ah, okay. So maybe a factor in conceding. It's part of the chain of events, isn't it? Football at this level, small details matter. And that penalty save, while good, came after what most felt was a pretty strange or harsh handball call anyway.
Yeah, the VAR decision always causes debate. Let's talk about the reactions then. How did the managers see it, Arteta?
He was, disappointed, obviously, but proud of the effort. Said his team were maybe the better side overall, but just couldn't get past Donnarumma. Felt they didn't deserve to lose, particularly on the night.
And the players? Declan Rice?
He used the word gutting. Said it was really tough to take, especially after starting so well, that dominant start, he called it. But crucially, he said they'd learn and keep pushing. Good mentality.
And on the winning side, Luis Enrique, the PSG manager.
Oh, you could see the emotion at the end. Pure relief and joy. He admitted Arsenal played very well, made it really difficult, talked about needing to make tactical changes during the game to get more control, deal with Arsenal's press.
Sounds like a real tactical battle then.
It was. And the players reflected that relief too. Marquinhos, the captain, spoke about the hard work, the collective spirit needed to get there, especially after previous Champions League heartbreaks.
You could feel the weight lift, I suppose. Hakimi.
Yeah, he spoke well too, praised the team spirit, mentioned how important Luis Enrique has been for them, real sense of unity in the PSG camp.
Fascinating contrasts in emotion. Let's dig into those tactics a bit more. Arsenal's dominant start. What did that look like?
High pressing, lots of energy, winning the ball back quickly in PSG's half. It definitely unsettled PSG early on, forced those Donnarumma saves we talked about.
But PSG adjusted.
They did. Maybe dropped a little deeper, found ways to play through the press. As the game went on, it became more stretched, more open, perhaps.
And PSG were just more clinical, took their chances.
That was a key difference, yeah. Arsenal had pressure, especially early, had that big Saka chance late on. But PSG, from fewer clear openings, found the net twice. That efficiency counts for so much at this level.
So, zooming out slightly, this puts PSG in their second ever Champions League final. A big deal for the club.
Huge. They've had a bit of a journey this season, some tricky moments even in the group stage, but they've navigated it all. Now they face Inter Milan in Munich. Massive occasion.
And for Arsenal, back-to-back exits at this sort of stage, does it raise questions?
Inevitably, yeah. There'll be analysis. Reaching the semifinal is progress on some fronts, but losing this way, especially with that feeling they might have deserved more over the 90 minutes in Paris, it's tough. Some might call it a backward step compared to expectations.
That fatal mistake leading to the first goal, maybe a lack of cutting edge, things to ponder for Arteta.
Exactly. Fine margins. But you also have to credit PSG. Maybe this is them finally becoming that, properly serious, resilient European team people have expected.
Okay, before we wrap up, let's quickly touch on some of that English vocabulary again. Great stuff for anyone listening to improve their language skills.
Yeah, definitely. We mentioned Ruiz's goal coming against the run of play. Donnarumma was described as imperious. A fantastic adjective. He was certainly an on-form keeper.
The penalty decision, if it had stood and been scored, could have been the killer blow for Arsenal. Raya's save was a reprieve.
That late Saka chance, if it went in, would have set up a grandstand finish. Rice called the loss gutting after their dominant start.
And you could describe Arsenal as being bereft at the final whistle, maybe? Feeling empty? Lots of good evocative language there?
Absolutely. Analyzing football gives you so much useful, real-world English.
So to quickly summarize this deep dive, PSG advance, largely thanks to a heroic performance from Donnarumma and some clinical finishing. Arsenal fought hard, had their moments, but ultimately fell short, leaving Paris with disappointment and maybe some regrets.
And hopefully, by dissecting this match, you've not only understood the game better, but also picked up some valuable English vocabulary and seen how native speakers discuss these events, the tactics, the emotions, the controversies.
Right. And here's a final thought for you to mull over. That VAR penalty. We heard it described as harsh, debatable, strange. Think about how you form your own opinion when presented with these different viewpoints. Does seeing the replay solidify your view, or does hearing the arguments make you reconsider?
Discussing these kinds of subjective moments is brilliant practice for expressing your own reasoned opinions in English.
It really is. Keep watching, keep listening, keep analyzing. It's one of the best ways to learn.
Your passion for the game can make learning English, well, not just easier, but actually fun.
Which is key, isn't it? Enjoyment.
Exactly. And it's fascinating how, our brains work. When you're genuinely into something, like, say, the latest transfer gossip or a really nail-biting match,
Yeah.
your brain is just much more open to taking in new information.
Yeah.
It's not like forcing yourself through, I don't know, boring grammar exercises.
No forced marks.
It's more like absorbing the language sort of naturally within a context you already get and, importantly, you care about. You're just more likely to notice new words, different ways of phrasing things.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like study, does it?
Not at all. It's just keeping up with a sport you love.
Exactly.
Look, if you're finding this deep dive helpful and you want to keep exploring this whole connection between football and learning English, there's something really simple but really important you can do for us.
That's right. Please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel.
And it keeps us motivated, honestly, to keep bringing you more content that mixes your love for football with ways to actually improve your English.
Exactly. By subscribing, you'll get those daily updates. Football news, real English, fun content, all designed to help you get better.
So yeah, make sure you don't miss out. See you in the next one.